Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Lansdowne here. Vice Chair Lou and I are thrilled to be with Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, DCCC Chair Susan Del Bene, and Assistant Leader Joe Neguse to welcome you to the House Democrats Issues Conference. I especially appreciate being here after Trump's long, rambling, and wholly untruthful State of the Union address. But despite the late night, I don't think we could have a better time to have our conference, where Democrats will contrast the lies that we heard with our hopeful vision for the country. Unlike Donald Trump, Democrats are laser focused on lowering costs and improving lives of hardworking American families. That's why this year's theme is Fighting for an Affordable America. While Republicans have used their majority to give billionaires tax breaks, our caucus is working tirelessly to bring solutions to drive down costs. We'll spend the next few days meeting with labor leaders, policy experts, elected officials, and most importantly, each other, to examine the Republican affordability crisis and put forward our own solutions. Because the truth is the real State of the Union, because the truth is that under Donald Trump, the State of the Union is incredibly weak. He has launched the United States into a full-blown affordability crisis with his chaotic tariffs, a healthcare crisis, the big ugly law, and a global crisis as he turns on our allies and threatens a war with Venezuela and Iran. It's no secret that Americans are worse off today than they were a year ago. But don't take our word for it. A recent CNN poll said that 70% of Americans say Trump isn't paying attention to their priorities. But instead of listening to the people that elected him, he's doubling down on his unpopular, harmful, and costly policies. Democrats have already used the few tools that we have in the minority to try to undo some of his damage, including releasing the Epstein files, restoring federal worker bargaining rights, and extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. If this is what we can do in the minority, just think what we can do in the majority. Donald Trump's address showed why it's critical that Democrats take back the House and make Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker. And the work that we do this week will help make that a reality. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. It is an honor to work with Chairman Aguilar in putting on this issues conference. We have a cost of living emergency in America. The affordability crisis is crushing the hopes and dreams of the American people. And what was Donald Trump's response? He mocked Americans in the term affordability. He was mocking people who were experiencing monthly bills that were far too high, grocery prices that were increasing. The American people were drowning in debt, and Donald Trump didn't want to talk about it. Democrats are going to talk about it this entire issues conference. We are laser focused on the affordability crisis and how to tackle it. And the parts of the speech that Donald Trump did talk about prices, he just flat out lied. Inflation is actually not going down. The last inflation report showed that core CPI accelerated from December to January. Another inflation report on PCE, which is the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, showed that it increased above expectations to 3%. So Donald Trump is lying, and the American people can either believe what Donald Trump says or they can believe the monthly bills, but they cannot believe both. And the person that's going to lead this caucus in tackling the affordability crisis is Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm so honored to have him come up because under Leader Jeffries, we have become the most effective minority party in U.S. history. We have passed 3 discharge petitions off the House floor, unheard of, stopped multiple stupid Republican rules, forced bipartisan congressional subpoenas, and Leader Jeffries is going to continue leading us until we win this November. Leader Jeffries.
Great. Well, thank you, Chairman Aguilar, and thank you, Vice Chair Lieu, for your leadership and for bringing us together at the 2026 Issues Conference. We gather, of course, in the immediate aftermath of the so-called State of the Union address that took place last night. That was a disgraceful performance. Donald Trump hit a new low. He didn't communicate anything meaningful to the American people. There was no substance in that speech, but a lot of snake oil. no vision for the future of the country, but a lot of vitriol. There were no policy prescriptions designed to make life better for everyday Americans, but it was full of partisanship. That State of the Union speech by Donald Trump was a disgrace. And now that we're on the other side of it, it's going to be a sprint to November 3rd. House Democrats are on the verge of a takeover. The break's over. For these MAGA extremists, it's over. Because the American people know that Donald Trump and House Republicans have failed the American people. They failed on the economy. They failed on health care. They failed on immigration enforcement. They failed to make life better for everyday Americans, breaking every single promise that they made, including, most significantly, that they were going to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down. As Vice Chair Lieu explained, costs have gone up, out of control. Far too many people struggling here in America to live paycheck to paycheck, cannot thrive, and can barely survive. And so we're here at this issues conference to talk amongst each other and with outside stakeholders and experts about a bold, meaningful, transformational path forward to address the Republican affordability crisis here in America and make life better for working class Americans, for middle class Americans, and for everyday Americans who were committed to fighting for each and every day, to drive down the high cost of living, to fix our broken health care system, and to deliver an immigration enforcement approach that is fair, just, and meaningful, that doesn't target violently American citizens or law-abiding immigrant families, but targets violent felons who are here unlawfully. We believe that the best is yet to come in this country, but it won't be delivered by Donald Trump and Republican sycophants in the House and in the Senate. It will come when Democrats take back control of the House, laying a foundation to end this national nightmare in the United States of America and continue our country's march toward a more perfect union. It's now my great honor to yield to my friend, my partner, my classmate, and the whip on the Democratic side of the House, who's doing an extraordinary job, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Honorable Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Leader. Thanks to our phenomenal leadership team, and especially to Chairman Aguilar and Vice Chair Lieu for bringing us together once again. And thanks to all of you for joining us this week. What a timely press conference and issues conference after the meltdown that we watched last night. Democrats are showing the American people that they deserve better. A better economy, better schools, better health care, a better and more affordable future. Just look at the past year. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Instead, the average American family has paid $1,700 more due to tariffs. In my district at home, that's $2,200. He declared last night that we are in a golden age, and that is certainly true if your last name is Trump. But for folks at home, prices are up, rent is up, layoffs are up, wage growth is down, and we're seeing women pushed out of the job market because they can't find affordable childcare. And none of this is an accident. It is a policy choice. Republicans have chosen to break their promises to regular families. They've chosen to keep their promises to a handful of billionaires. And they've chosen to enrich the few at the expense of the many. And the American people have taken note. Democrats are offering a different choice. We are offering solutions that we will be discussing and expanding in the next few days. We're looking at an agenda that can cut child care costs to $15 a day, an agenda that cuts premiums with a permanent health care tax credit, an agenda that cuts housing costs and builds new affordable homes, an agenda that cuts utility bills by making corporate users pay their fair share, and an agenda that empowers Americans to win bigger paychecks with a union. Americans are voting for Democrats because we are fighting for them, fighting for their health care, to drive down the price of groceries, and to stamp out corruption and self-enrichment. That's our focus, and that is why we are going to win next year. And we are so fortunate to have our chairwoman of the DCCC, Susan DelBene, at the helm. She is a true leader who has been recruiting and supporting our candidates and incumbents around the country and building that big blue wave. Thank you, Susan. Podium is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be here in Leesburg with our leadership team and our Democratic caucus this week. You've heard it before, and you're going to hear it over and over going forward. Affordability is the number one issue facing families all across the country. Donald Trump and House Republicans promised to lower prices on day one, and that has been a big broken promise. 400 days into Trump's second term, groceries are up, electric bills are more expensive, and healthcare costs are unaffordable. And this is a direct result of Trump's reckless tariffs and their big ugly bill. And American families feel it. They sit down at the kitchen table to pay their bills only to see their paycheck not going as far as it used to. And despite what the president tried to say in his State of the Union speech, you cannot gaslight the American people. America is more expensive because of Trump and Republican policies. And that's because they really only care about the wealthy and the well-connected. They made the largest cut to Medicaid in America's history so the ultra-rich could pay less in taxes. They allowed healthcare costs to skyrocket and millions to lose coverage so that the largest corporations don't have to pay their fair share. And this is the defining contrast of the midterms. While Republicans broke their promise to lower costs, Democrats are focused on lowering costs for hardworking families just trying to get by. We only need to net 3 seats to make Leader Jeffries Speaker Jeffries and finally put a check on this out-of-control administration. The good news is we have the candidates, the message, and the public support to win back the majority. The DCCC recently expanded our battlefield to 44 districts where we have strong opportunities to take seats. Additionally, earlier this week, we rolled out our first round of red to blue candidates, 12 top-tier candidates in highly competitive races that we know can win in November. We have a message that's focused on the issues that Americans want to see addressed in Washington, D.C., not on building gilded ballrooms and renaming performance venues. The American people are with us. In poll after poll, you're seeing voters sour on Republicans, especially on Republicans' handling of the economy and the country. And Democrats are in the strongest position yet to retake the majority this fall. And come next year, we will have the gavels. Thank you all for joining us today. And now I'm honored to turn it over to my colleague, our assistant leader, and the gentleman from Colorado, Joe Neguse.
Well, first and foremost, thank you all for being here, and thank you to our chairwoman of the DCCC, who's doing an incredible job, Herculean work that has been tasked to her to lead us into the majority and end the chaos that has engulfed Washington, D.C. for the better part of the last 14 months. The word disgraceful was used to describe President Trump's presentation last night, and I couldn't agree more with that characterization. And while I don't want to belabor it, I think it bears repeating. Many of you, the reporters here, have covered State of the Union performances and deliveries and speeches for some time. And it is worth considering the sad state of affairs in Washington, D.C., with a president in President Trump who debases the Constitution in such offensive and disgraceful ways, as we saw last night. There was a time in our country where we didn't have presidents of either party who who would engage in the kind of invective that President Trump engaged in yesterday. I suspect that most Americans felt the same outrage that we all did regarding President Trump's performance last night. I will say the contrast could not be clearer between his disgraceful presentation, lecturing the American public, telling the American public to ignore what they see with their own eyes, and the thoughtful and compelling presentation made by our former colleague, now the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, whom did a terrific job making the case to the American people very squarely about who President Trump works for and who he does not work for. And one needs no explanation in Colorado, I can tell you that. The farmers whom I represent, who are experiencing the highest rate of bankruptcy in decades, know that President Trump isn't working for them. The ranchers in western Colorado, who are struggling by virtue of this president's reckless trade policies, they understand that this president doesn't work for them. The families who are struggling to make ends meet, to afford virtually anything, car insurance, groceries, going to the restaurant with their kids, everything is more expensive in Donald Trump's America, and they know why. Because this president is not working for them. He is working for himself, his donors, the sycophantic supporters that he has surrounded himself with. The voters are going to have a very simple choice to make come this November between competing visions for the country. And I am confident that they will choose the vision that's been outlined by the leadership here, the vision articulated by Governor Spanberger, a vision that ultimately centers them and making life better and more affordable for the American people. And of course, someone who will lead us, as he has done throughout the last several years and during the course of now this caucus conference and issues retreat on answering these fundamental questions about affordability is the gentleman, my good friend from Redlands, Chairman Aguilar. I'll turn it back to him.
Thank you, Joe. Questions? Thank you all, as said before. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you taking the time to cover this and to be with us as well. So thank you. Max?
Thanks. Obviously, we heard a lot of optimism from everyone involved about taking back the majority in 2026. But I wanted to ask you about the flip side, the challenges to winning back the majority. Can you talk about how you're approaching Republicans might have a huge advantage with their super PAC money? There might be a Supreme Court case striking down the Voting Rights Act. Talk to me about why it might not go to plan.
Sure. I'll defer. That's a tough one, so I'll defer to Susan Delbene here shortly. Look, let me just say we're going to control what we can control. We have incredibly strong candidates. Our members, our frontline members who are in the toughest seats in the country are outraising their Republican challengers by a very healthy clip. That's what we can control. Now, President Trump wants to take over elections. He's going to continue to tweet out and put out executive orders. He and Republican governors could, do other untoward things to affect our elections. What we can control is communicating a message that will resonate to people. And that's what we're focused on. That's what our members are focused on. That's what our candidates in the toughest races are focused on. We're very mindful of potential court cases involving the VRA. We're mindful of ongoing litigation. But fundamentally, people understand that they have a right to vote. And I'm confident, no matter the suppression tactics that Republicans employ, mostly in red states that they will try, voters will come out. And voters will recoil because they see what's happening. They see that Republicans are trying to stop them from exercising their franchise, because the only way they win, the only way they carry forward policies that only look after their billionaire class and themselves is by changing the election structure to favor themselves. That's what we're up against. We're very mindful. We're very clear-eyed. We're honest about the litigation efforts underway. Joe Morelli is leading the delegation as well to talk about other scenarios that could happen in between now and November that will affect the elections, to make sure that we have the protections in place, combined with the voter protection safeguards that we are employing at the DCCC and around the country to ensure that every vote cast is counted. Susan Delbene?
First, if you think you're winning with the American people, if you think they agree with you on policy and that the voters are with you, then you really don't focus on rigging the system. It is clear, poll after poll, talking to people on the ground, affordability being the number one issue. Republicans are not interested in what people think. And so how do they try to win? They try to rig the system. We've seen it with the redistricting. People hate that across the country. When people have a say, like they did in California, they strongly object to what Republicans are trying to do. People want to pick their representatives. They don't want politicians to pick their voters. That's what Republicans are trying to do. So we have mapped out all the different scenarios. We are fighting hard. We're going to use every tool in the toolbook to fight back. But the most powerful thing we have are incredible candidates who are authentic, independent-minded, talking about the issues that matter on the ground. That's why we overperformed last cycle and picked up seats, and absolutely why we will continue to win across the country. People are tired of what they see from Republicans, and they want folks who are going to stand up, who aren't going to be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump. So they do. They have tons of resources, and we will have the resources to get out there, to get our message out. And when we have strong candidates and we're on the side of the American people, we absolutely will win and take back the gavels.
Questions?
Thank you very much for doing this. I just wanted to ask about the State of the Union last night. I know that most of Democratic leadership went, but Whip Clark, you decided to sit this one out or not be physically in the chamber for it. I just wanted to ask how you made that decision and what, if anything, we should read into kind of that difference of approach in Democratic leadership.
Thank you for that. I decided not to go the State of the Union because I wanted to hear the actual State of the Union from my constituents. And what I'd seen from Donald Trump is continuing to lie and misrepresent. But believe me when I say there is no space between us. And however you chose to express it, whether it's going there and being in silent defiance, or whether it choosing to do what I did, which was have a Zoom with small business owners who told me the struggle they are having, not only meeting with increased prices, but with the havoc that is being created for them in keeping and finding employees with the reign of terror that ICE is causing in our communities. Whether it was the teacher from Framingham, Massachusetts, who talked about the impact of the dismantling of public schools we're seeing from this administration, and also the fear of students who are staying home because they're so fearful about being picked up by ICE. Even American citizens who are just scared because of their ethnicity, that they will be deported. I talked to two scientists who talked about the impact of the research cuts and how the cures and hopes that they have been working on are now in a freezer in a lab and not going to be able to come to fruition, and that we are giving away our position globally as a leader in innovation. So there's no light between us in leadership or in the Democratic caucus on whose side we are on. The State of the Union should be about the American people, and that is what the Democratic caucus showed strongly in the chamber and outside of the chamber last night.
I have a question for Leader Jeffries. Last night we saw a variety of different protests of the State of the Union, and Congressman Al Green was escorted from the chamber. What's your message to the members who maybe didn't quite heed your advice to take their protests outside?
I thought the Democratic response was appropriately restrained and forceful at the same period of time, and that was obvious to anybody who was watching. Obvious to anyone who was watching in terms of the members who were there. With respect to Representative Green's response, it was both appropriate and restrained at the same period of time. Now, his message that he communicated was obviously on point. But it was far less profane than my reaction to the very same racist video that Donald Trump felt compelled to produce. And I think, for us, as we had asked everyone to do, if you're going to go, we will express ourselves in a manner consistent with being in the House chamber, and that was done. And if you're not going to go, that's also a statement of defiance as it relates to the lies that Donald Trump was clearly peddling to the American people. And so we're on the backside of the State of the Union address. It did nothing to help out Donald Trump's case to the American people. He's falling apart. His poll numbers are an extinction level event. It's over for these extremists. They've lost 14 months consecutively of meaningful elections. Literally every single election that has been held since Donald Trump's first month in office in January of 2025 has been won by Democrats. And so I know people are struggling to find a reason to pierce the fact that the American people have clearly decided it's time to throw the MAGA extremists overboard and elect Democrats. But we're going to stay the course. We're going to be disciplined and focused as we were yesterday. We're going to continue to win the day and win the week and win the month, win the hearts and minds of the American people, win the year, and then win back the House.
Same tough Nick Wu questions, different outlets. So congratulations, Nick. Yeah. Scott?
Thank you. Another question for the leader.
No more questions for him.
Well, you guys were sitting next to each other, I saw, and probably could hear the best in the chamber what Ms. Tlaib and Ms. Omar were yelling at the president. The president this afternoon has taken to Truth Social to call those congresswomen lunatics and says, quote, we should send them back from where they came as fast as possible. What is your response to the president?
These are U.S. citizens, members of Congress who are federally elected office holders. Where they come from is their districts, and they go back quite a bit to their districts. Those two members are as in touch with the pulse of their communities as any two members we have in the chamber. We couldn't hear a lot of what was said from our seats. But look, I think the frustration all of us had is, where was the vision? Where was someone who could be a uniter, who could bring people together? Not that this president has ever done that, but hope springs eternal. But we get what we get, and true to form, he was who he is, and that is divisive. And so I think our members reacted to that. But our members are from their districts, and their home is in the Democratic caucus. That's what we know. And we will have their back, and we will stand with them because they continue to bring back the thoughts and reflections of their districts and their communities. You want to?
I'll just say the xenophobic rhetoric of Donald Trump, directed at two members of the House Democratic Caucus, of course, is sadly not surprising, but it's disgraceful. It's unpresidential, unpatriotic, and un-American. But that's Donald Trump, and that was on full display for the American people yesterday. I mean, he did not help his case. He did not help the case of the Republican sycophants who were just standing up and down like lapdogs. It was embarrassing to see that he spoke for almost 2 hours, less than 2 minutes on the affordability crisis that the American people are dealing with right now. But we're going to be spending the next several days talking about our ironclad commitment to driving down the high cost of living, so we can make life more affordable for everyday Americans. We believe in this country, you work hard, you play by the rules, you should be able to live a comfortable life, an affordable life, live the good life. And we know how that's defined. Good paying job, good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and when it's all said and done, a good retirement. And that's what Democrats in the House and the Senate are going to fight hard to achieve.
Mariana, last one.
Thanks. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I know you all are here, obviously, to talk about how to win the midterm elections. affordability strategy, but if you all are afforded the gavels, so when I have President Trump, we don't know what the Senate looks like. I know you guys are probably going to have a lot of bills that will match what you all are talking to the American people about. The one thing you will have is subpoena power. You really will have the gavels on committees to be able to investigate. Some committees are doing that now, but could you give us a little bit of a preview? I mean, are you guys like writing down everything that Trump, his family, other administration officials are doing that you all could potentially look into? You're obviously already investigating Kristi Noem. Like, what should we expect from you all if we do have the majority? What do investigations look like?
I'll defer to Assistant Leader Neguse and then Vice Chair Liu to close this out. But let's just say, with the Trump administration, when it comes to oversight and accountability, it is a target-rich environment. And that is clearly on display. Now, what we tell our members and what we tell candidates who are running is we have to do all of the things. We have to do oversight and accountability, and we have to talk about the affordability agenda and how we're going to make life better for people if we're given the opportunity to lead and if we're given the opportunity to govern. We've been in divided government before. We've seen the lessons. Many of us were at the leadership table when those decisions were made, and we learned from that, and we're going to move forward. But we're going to address both issues, the oversight and accountability that is necessary and fundamental that our Constitution calls for and that this time brings. And we're going to talk about a proactive affordability agenda on how we lower the costs that people face. And we're going to do both. And we hope and we will continue to reach out a hand to work with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, just as we have done when we have passed things from the minority this year. We're going to continue that same ethos. And if they want to drive down costs that people face, then there will be a place for them. If they want to continue to do everything Donald Trump says, stand up, sit down, vote no, then that's what they'll choose to do. We don't have the luxury. We've got to help people. That's why we're all here, and that's going to be our focus. Assistant Leader Neguse, then Vice Chair Liu to close.
I think Chair Aguilar described it well.